right now we're gonna do some measurement of the angles and stuff, and also see how it looks like where
where we're gonna install the arc of the main sheet arc of the doghouse. We're gonna open up the roof to see how the back plates will look like and how thick the hull is there, so that we know for how long bolts we're gonna use, because we're gonna laminate them into the arc.
And what angle.
What angle the mount is gonna be at, yeah. It's also very, very cold.
Yes.
There we have it. Laminating mode. I think I might change to the... It's probably gonna be quite warm.
Yeah, we have gotten our deliveries, the epoxy we needed to laminate the walls, so that's what we're gonna do now.
So while having all the lamination stuff ready, we're gonna also laminate in some glass fiber here in the carbon beam, and this is where we're gonna have some aluminum inserts for the attachment points for the main sheet. And that is to electrically isolate the aluminum from the carbon.
We are closing in on laminating the outside of the walls. We don't have that much left. It's starting to get really late. We haven't had dinner yet. So doing this makes you appreciate the resin infusion a lot more.
Classic lamination night.
So yeah, we're just gonna finish this up, and then next fun step will be finishing the beam using resin infusion instead.
Okay, so I'm back at the doghouse after we did the lamination of all the wall joints, outside wall joints. We should probably let the peel ply sit until we're gonna work with these surfaces, but I really wanna take some away and look at the results. Looks really, really good. Gives a really nice surface. This one is very, very stiff now, so the edge was a bit thin before, so it was a bit wobbly, but now it feels very stiff. And then we're gonna cut this down as well, so I think this will hold.
Thought maybe do a short recap of what we're doing here and why we're doing it. We are preparing our sailboat for blue water sailing, and one thing we're doing is changing the old spray hood we had that was like completely falling apart, and we thought it had a little bit of a tight shape. We decided to build a doghouse instead, and we also wanted to move the position of the main sheet attachment, which is currently in the cockpit just aft of the companionway, so it's quite much in the way when you're moving in and out of the boat, and it is also due to safety reasons if something were to break. So we looked at different alternatives for where the main sheet attachment can be, and for our boat we cannot really have it in front of the cockpit and doghouse and everything. Then the attachment to the boom will be too close to the mast, and the forces will probably be too much to handle. And we also looked into having it on the arch, which we will build after we finish with the doghouse. Then it felt like it would be too much in the way for when you're behind the wheel and steering, and it was not a good way to have it in the arch. So then we decided to integrate it into the doghouse we're building. And that's why we're making this massive carbon fiber beam.
So the agenda of today is to start to cut the core that's going to be in the beam. So this is the core that we're going to use. It's a 25mm thick and 75 kilograms per cubic meter. So I'm going to cut this one to strips, and then we're going to shape them to the radius that we have down here. Okay, so I started to try to bend this piece with some heat, but it didn't work out at all. So I'll try to make a curved bend instead. So make some cuts here, almost all the way through, and then that removed material should hopefully make it possible to bend it. Okay, so that didn't really turn out as planned. I managed to break this one when I was trying to push it into the radius. I mean, it doesn't matter that much. In the end, it's just a bit more difficult to work with two pieces. Also, it's very, very time consuming shaping the part to this radius that is down here. And I want as tight fit as possible to not have to use more epoxy than necessary.
We have started laying up the core now and gotten quite far, but we're not gonna be finished this evening. Yeah, I can show the core. So here is core we currently have, and then before we leave today we're gonna glue this together. These two pieces that will be for the foot, where the attachment will be.
So we're gonna glue, I mean there's some different core pieces here. They're more or less the same material, it's just that we bought them in from different stores. But the green core here, we're gonna glue in place to the roof. These ones we're gonna keep loose. Then we're gonna attach this piece, which will be the bottom section that we're gonna attach the beam to the deck later on with. So these ones will be first of all welded in, because the heads of these screws will be embedded into the structure, and they're gonna be glued onto this end. Then this piece will be wrapped in carbon, but dry carbon, that we're gonna just spray in place. Then this whole package will go on to here, still dry, like this. There will be a bit of slight angle on so it matches the deck. And then we're gonna make a layup for, and then run a resin infusion of everything in place is the plan. And the reason for that is that then we will have some fabric really bonding this piece to the leg here, so to say, and then there will be more carbon wrapping around this piece that actually extends all the way to the beam. On this piece then it will be fabric on both sides, so it's basically being infusing like a panel. I mean, we really need to make sure it's fully wetted everywhere there. So all the core pieces are in place for the beam. We finished off with a 5mm piece of core here, and the reason for that is that we want, this might be a bit difficult to explain, but we want this, the end piece, it's gonna sit here. We want 5mm smaller in both dimensions here, and the reason for that is that we're gonna, as I said before, build up some carbon just around this one, and we want the thickness to that, when that carbon is on, we want the thickness to be the same as the cross-section area of this piece. But we're stopping with it here because down here we want the final height when we put the fabric on here to matching this surface as good as possible. Before we glue the core in place, we're gonna prepare for these inserts. We're gonna have them where we will have the two attachment points for the main sheet. So these are 60mm aluminum rod. So we will drill a hole, and then we will have a chamfer to the hole. And for that we made an innovative some counter-sinking tool. I'm not sure what to call it really, but it's a 3D printed shape that we have glued sandpaper to. Now we're just gonna glue these in place. That's no structural gluing or anything, it's just to keep them in place. 14 degrees angle here, and that's first to To get horizontal, you need 7 degrees because the walls are leaning 7 degrees. And then the deck is leaning 7 degrees to the horizontal plane. Shit, now I almost have to draw this now. Now I just got... yeah, I got a bit worried that we had adding up the angles in the wrong way, but I think we're good.
Let's hope it is.
We'll only know when we take it to the boat later on. So now we made a mesh of these grooves into the bottom pieces. This will be situated like this, and we will have the rest in front going this way. The grooves that are parallel with the rest in front is basically to keep the rest in front parallel. So if the front will go a bit faster here, then the rest will travel in the groove to help the front over here. And these ones are basically to help out for the resin to flow underneath the fiber. What's next is that we're going to do some holes here as well to make sure that the resin can travel through the whole core as well. And the reason for that is to help out to get the underside wetted as well properly. And also you want them to, as the resin front will propagate on both sides, you want them to end up here more or less at the same time. And now we're gonna cut it to the correct length there, as this will define where we will meet the deck later on.
We are now about to start putting up the fibers for the feet. First we're gonna have a little bit of glass fiber towards the stainless steel. Now we're just using this Infusion fix thingy to make sure that the glass fiber stacks, and then later on also the carbon. So here the feet are getting carbon on them.
Wow, it's very solid. Okay, so we're done with the lower parts of the beam. They're now covered in 4 layers. Combined UD and biaxial. Now we're gonna go home. But next time when we're here, we're gonna make the final sanding on this part. We're gonna do some radiuses here, just trim off any potential place where we have had glue coming out. Then it's time to do the layup. Okay, so now it's time to start to cut the carbon for the second skin in the beam. And once again we will use quite a lot of this unidirectional 600 gram per square meter fiber, together with some quadaxial fiber as well. We have like 4 millimeters to go, something like that.
We have now 3 layers ish.
Yep. So all the carbon fiber is in place. We are on a slightly high now, as it's not under any vacuum compression. So if I put on the ruler here, it's flying a bit, but you can compress it down. We also added some extra reinforcement where the attachment points will be. We also added some extra carbon in the corner here, as we saw quite some stress there on the FEM analysis. So next up is to finish the stack up here for the infusion, which will be adding peel ply and then mesh and then the vacuum bag. We also received some deck hardwood order. So this will be the attachment point. It will be here, but on the other side obviously. We're a bit uncertain about the size of this one, but I think this will be pretty good. In the FEM analysis we loaded this beam with 10 tons of force. That's a lot. I mean, there will be a lot of things breaking before that will happen. These ones there will be one here and one here. They have a safe working load of 2,000 kilos and a breaking load of 4,000 kilos. Obviously we have some angles involved here, and I think if we're starting to hit the limit of these guys, then we more or less want them to break, because then we have a tremendous load on the rest of the structural parts here. So I think the size will be good. And we also got some more nice parts. We ordered some teak handrails. So we will have, it's a bit weird now as everything is upside down, but we will have these ones here, I think. This one will be cut away. And then we ordered some larger one that we're gonna have on the roof. It's not possible to place them really, but here-ish. give a good look with some teak, as we're not planning to put any teak on the roof or anything like that, so it's going to be mainly covered by solar panels anyway. Cool, but that's for later.
Now we're gonna continue with the infusion stack up.
Hopefully it won't leak this time.
So now Thomas is putting on the spiral hoses. I think we're gonna have the same as we did last run, right?
Same setup or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar. Everything feels so flimsy when you put this on. I mean, nothing. We don't want to have nor the peel ply or the mesh with too much attachment points, because then when everything gets on the vacuum, it might be too tight, get too stretchy and stuff like that. But it also makes everything very flimsy when you mount it. I mean, everything is kind of moving. You don't really get everything really in place right now. But as soon as you put on the bag and put on some vacuum, you can, like, as long as you put on the vacuum quite slowly, you can arrange everything.
And then we're gonna put on the strip that we're gonna have as the outlet, and then we're gonna remove the old tacky tape. We decided not to remove the tacky tape from the last infusion, so we sort of kept the area protected. We have the bag in position. Time to start to pull a little bit vacuum.
It's like we got into a quite sealed bag, and it didn't take that long this time.
No, when did we start? It was like...
Probably longer than you think, but I don't know, an hour ago maybe. Now we're just gonna perform a proper drop test. We will leave it on the vacuum here. Take a note of the vacuum meter, leave it for like 30 minutes, come back and make sure it hasn't dropped. And then I think we will try to infuse it. It seems to be very stable. Let's see what happens in 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're gonna go have some coffee and then see how it looks like.
So it's been 30 minutes and the drop test is done. We lost a little bit of vacuum, but not that much, so we have decided to go. So
it's way better than last time.
Yeah, I mean, last time it was leaking way more. I mean, then we didn't even have to do a drop test. We could see the needle fall. Now it's been 30 minutes and it's been dropping very little. Maybe we should just think everything through a bit. Last time we had all these panic plans. If something went wrong, and I think we should probably do that this time as well.
We had the same panic plans, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
And then I think we have the foot and the core. That is a little bit...
Yeah, we need to really keep an eye on those parts. Yeah.
Let's do this.
So exciting to see if this works out. Now it's go time!
Resin infusion is complete for the beam, and it looks like we had quite a successful run.
But we had some incidents, maybe. The resin feed line port managed to come loose, so we sucked some air in, so that was not very good. And also we have a small area where the
air is trapped.
Air trapped here. As this part is a sandwich structure, we got resin coming from both the top side and also the back side against the wall, and that caused this cavity to get enclosed here. I mean, it's still shrinking and will probably shrink for a while, but we'll see if we will fully wet that out or not. But I don't think it's the end of the world. We'll see how
it's quite small, and if you push it, you can see that it gets a little bit wetted. So I think it's wetted underneath. It's just a top.
I will probably try to work it a bit to see if we manage to get it smaller. Otherwise, everything looks fully wetted.
And we used a lot of epoxy,
Yeah.
so that's good.
So we're not targeting a lightweight structure, we just want to make sure everything's wetted, so that's good.
And that's a way to ensure that we get everything wetted, is that the right amount of epoxy is used.
Mm.
Looking good. So we have removed the Infusion consumables, and I think the results look really, really good. We didn't expect anything else, but it's crazy stiff. Remove the whole.
Wait,
you have to
show for the side.
It's impossible to. At least that's what it feels like. It feels like we wetted it out really, really well. There were some air bubbles in the mesh and peel ply, but there was not really any signs of it in the actual fabric.
Even the one.
Yeah, there is one spot where we had a dry spot, or like a enclosed air or vacuum bubble thingy. But that one, you can see that it's some small spots where it's dry. But I really don't think that matters too much, to be honest. And we got it really well leveled as well, compared to the inner roof. I think all in all, it just feels like it's turned out really, really good and strong.
It looks so cool.
Got a bit of this fabric being not stretched here at the corner. It's a bit here as well, but it's mainly here close to the bottom. Obviously this will have an impact on the strength, but I'm not too worried. I mean, from the FEM, and it's quite intuitive as well, the main load will be here where the beam bends, and here it's quite well stretched. And the part in the middle looks super good, I would say. I think it's a success. We don't know until we try to load it later on, but right now it feels pretty good.
Next step with this now is to
remove these flanges I've only had here to be able to do the infusion. And then I think we will start to demold it, right?
Mm.
Which is also going to be very, very interesting, as we haven't seen the roof yet from the outside.
to be continued.